This video was brought to you by the lovely members of my Patreon. What I've seen happen is these women will stay in these relationships and they will try to justify the relationship because of those things I just mentioned. And they will be made to feel as though their desire for monogamy is inherently wrong, that their desire to be with a person and only with that person is wrong. And let me tell you guys, there's really nothing wrong with being monogamous. I mean, I can't believe that I have to say this, but there's nothing wrong with being monogamous. Hey guys, it's Kat and it's time for another episode of True Tea. I want to thank you guys so much for joining me here yet again for another episode of True Tea. We do these videos every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and I greatly appreciate those of you guys who are here every single week ready for a fresh brew of True Tea. Anyway, how are you guys doing? What are you guys up to? What's different and new in your life? I have been challenging myself to do something a little atypical, a little out there, a little risky, I guess. I've been trying to challenge myself to drink a gallon of water every single day. I got this really cute jug from Amazon, I believe, and it is just the cutest thing, and it encourages me to drink water. This is such a weird thing where, like, I know that I technically could get up and every day, like, get a glass of water and drink it normally, but something about this just makes me want to finish this whole thing in a day. And so yeah, that's kind of what I've been trying to do. And let me tell you, I'm peeing quite a bit. And I'm mostly drinking a lot of water because A, I don't get enough water. B, I have been doing some diet changes and also my medication changes and things. And water works well with both of those things. So I thought, why not just commit to drinking more water? What's the worst you could possibly do? So yeah, that's what I am doing. That's what's new in my life. Let me know what's new in your life in the comment box below. And we're gonna be having a conversation again about polyamory, or rather the pressure to be polyamorous. So I would highly suggest you go to your kitchen and grab yourself something to drink. I've already got mine right here. I'm gonna take a gulp of this and then we're gonna get right into this conversation. So yeah, let me know what's in your mug in the comment box below. So this is something that came up recently because I realized I have not said this. I've said it in between a lot of videos, but I haven't said it. I don't have a dedicated video to it. And this is something that I have been thinking about for a while. And I really wanted to make this video for the women in my audience. I'm sure that everything I say in this video can apply to people of all genders, but I really want to talk to women today because I feel like I'm connecting some dots, I'm connecting some pieces, and it's really, really important for me to share some of these thoughts that I've had, especially at this particular phase of my life. So yeah, let's get into it. So as you guys know by now, if you couldn't tell by the millions of videos that I've made about the subject, I am polyamorous, and polyamory is something that I feel pretty comfortable with. For me, polyamory just makes sense. I have been deeply in love in a monogamous relationship with somebody who was the most important thing to me in the world, closer to me than anyone I was actually related to. And I still, within that situation, recognized that I was polyamorous. And the big reason, there's so many other reasons, but one of the big reasons why we ultimately broke up was because I recognized this about myself. And I recognized that it would be unfair for me to put my partner in a situation where he was not able to pursue the kind of relationship that he wanted. Him and I, we actually made a video forever ago talking about polyamory. And one of the things that we said was that when you start a relationship, there is a sort of contract that you have, especially when it's monogamous, and you sort of mutually agree that you're going to be, with each other, exclusive with each other. And that it is kind of unfair to, in the process of that relationship, change the nature of it. Now, of course, back then I had no clue that I was polyamorous. A lot of other people could tell, but I couldn't tell that I was polyamorous. And it was definitely, it was hard for me to come to terms with the fact that I felt like I wanted to change the contract, not because there was anything wrong with him. I deeply, deeply loved him more than anything in this world, but because that's just how I felt. I'd recognized that I had the capacity to love more than one person, and that this dichotomy that I put myself in, where I felt like, you know, I had to pretend that the only person I could ever potentially love was this person, that was just not healthy for me. It was not healthy for him. And I needed to walk away from the relationship. And he's since moved on. Last I heard, he is getting married or has been married already. And I'm incredibly happy to hear that that was a good decision and that he's happy, right? And there's so many different ways that that could have gone. And one of the things that we ultimately talked about towards the end is that we could have continued to see each other. We could have continued to date each other and sort of see how things would fall. And since that relationship, I have dated several men who have put their partners, their female partners, their women partners, in this position. And I have a lot of very strong opinions about this, a lot of very strong feelings about this. And I really wanted to come to you guys and share this with you, because being the solo poly person, dating a partnered person who is in a relationship with a person who is not comfortable with their polyamory has not been fun. And so I thought that we would talk about that in this video. And I'm specifically wanting to talk about this because I know that there are a lot of women, you know, who watch my channel. Honestly, when I make my videos, I mostly imagine that I'm speaking to a woman. Obviously, I know that my followers are more diverse than that. I've got non-binary people in my audience. I've got a lot of men in my audience, but I usually think of my audience as women. And this is definitely going to be something that I'm speaking to women directly about, even though I'm sure it can apply to everybody else. I just feel very strongly about this because it's a thought that I've been having recently. And so I felt like I would come here and have this conversation with you guys about this, because I feel like I've talked around this in several videos, but I really wanted to have a dedicated one where I'm speaking literally exactly about this. So let us begin. So one of the things that I want to stop doing in 2021 is being open-minded towards things that my brain immediately tells me are not okay or that I do not like. I think that a lot of women are often gaslit, frankly, into being open-minded. And if you've listened to most of the videos that I've made about some of the men that I've dealt with and the way that they've dealt with their partners who are generally cis women, one of the things I always say is that regardless of how I may feel about this stuff, if you're uncomfortable with your partner doing a certain thing, that's valid. And I think a lot about my life and how much I have been gaslit into being open-minded, right? And how many times I have done something I didn't quite want to do, or maybe I specifically said I wanted a relationship, for example, but a man made me feel like I was not as sex positive or open if I didn't give them sex or whatever. And so I might have gone and done it. And then I got egg on my face at the end of the day, because turns out that, you know, a lot of times when these men are trying to tell you to be more open-minded, they're really just trying to get exactly what they want from you and leave. And so one of the things I've been trying to tell myself recently is that my initial boundaries, my initial thoughts of, no, I don't want this, are incredibly valid. And when I think down the line of all the men that I've dealt with in my life, I truly cannot think of a time where I've given leeway, been open-minded, gone outside of my comfort zone, and it served me. And what I feel like I'm consistently speaking about on this channel is really thinking about things that serve you. And what I mean by that, I'm not saying that you need to be selfish, even though that's okay too. I really mean that I think a lot of times we do stuff because we think that's just how things are supposed to be, or we really, really like someone. And so we maybe do stuff that we wouldn't usually do. You know, but at the end of the day, I think the thing you got to ask yourself is, how is this serving you? Right? I've done a lot of going out of my way, doing the thing I didn't want to quite do, going to an event or something crazy where I put resources and energy and time in, thinking that if I'm this open and this available, maybe this man will stick around. And they don't. And the relationships I'm in that are consistent, that are strong, that have never required me to, quote, be open-minded, are my strongest relationships, right? I always mention Nathan on this channel because he's, to me, you know, my most like idealistic partner, because he's somebody who has pushed my boundaries and has pushed my limits, but he never looked at me and said, you're not quite comfortable with this, so I want you to do this instead. I want you to ignore your body, your boundaries, the things that you say you don't want, and I want to push it. I want to push it a little bit more, and I want to gaslight you into agreeing to what I want. He's never done that. Our relationship started with him saying, hey, you're new to this, both with poly and with BDSM. And I really think we should take it slow. We didn't sexually touch or interact with each other for a whole month, which, you know, for some people might not be a long time, but for me is a long time. And that hesitation, that getting to know each other, him respecting where I was, especially back then, you know, I had been fairly inexperienced BDSM wise. I was just getting out of a monogamous relationship. Because of that, he didn't want to push things. He didn't want to rush things. And there's been times where I've been pushed or shamed into doing stuff or accepting things. And I can't think of a time where that served me. And I really want you to think if there's ever been a time where you've done that sort of thing and it served you. And I'm not meaning like the times where you've kind of gone to that store or something and you wanted to stay home. I mean when a man has basically subtly suggested that the only way for you to gain access to him is if you forego your boundaries. How many times have you done that and it served you? Because I can't think of a single time where it has. I really can't. And so I want to talk about that today. I want to talk about this in the context of polyamory. Recently, I had this situation where I was talking to this guy and he said in his profile that he was non-monogamous. And you know, when people say that, it can literally mean anything. It could literally mean so many different types of relationships. And as somebody who's polyamorous, it's really important for me to understand that the men that I'm talking to are open for romantic relationships outside of the relationship that they're currently in. Ethically non-monogamous could mean that you occasionally have sex with other people. It could mean that you are polyamorous in the way that I am. It could mean that you've got a bunch of friends who you just sort of have a good time with, and that's just kind of how it could literally mean so many things. And so it was really important for me to understand what he meant when he said that he was non-monogamous. And to really, I'm not gonna tell this whole story because it's kind of messy and it's not my business to share. But he was really slow to explain to me that he is in a relationship where his partner is very uncomfortable with him dating or seeing other people romantically. But that's something that he wants, that's something that he is desiring, but she's not currently at a point where she's comfortable with that. They live in a very suburban area that's very separated from the city. And his idea was that I would befriend both of them and that she would kind of get that connection to like a cool person in the city. Sorry, that's full of myself, but she would get that connection with a cool person in the city who is part of the LGBT community. And they could maybe one day warm up to the idea of him pursuing me romantically, right? Like maybe, just maybe one day that'll happen. right? And long story short, his partner did not know that he was talking to me in that way. And she was really, really, really upset about that. They had an argument about it. Then eventually I ended up getting added to their group text. And we were all having conversations together in front of each other because that was kind of one of her rules. And then ultimately shit hit the fan. He was going out there trying to meet a bunch of other people. She was really feeling isolated because she had no friends. She didn't know anybody in the area. He was her only connection to a social life. And he was out there trying to meet a bunch of people and she didn't agree with it. And so it went from him trying to fuck me to me being the girl that she text messaged and vents to because of what he's doing. We had this whole thing where she had no clue that him and I were having private conversations. It was a mess. It was a mess. And all I kept thinking while being in this situation that was just a total mess where they're not communicating was that I don't understand why she agreed to be in a situation that she doesn't want to be in. I mean, I know why. When you're in a long-term relationship with somebody and they come to you and say, hey, I want to be with other people, and you've got kids, which they do have kids and things, it's very hard to just walk away from that sort of relationship, right? And so what I've seen happen is these women will stay in these relationships and they will try to justify the relationship because of those things I just mentioned. And they will be made to feel as though their desire for monogamy is inherently wrong, that their desire to be with a person and only with that person is wrong. And let me tell you guys, there's really nothing wrong with being monogamous. I mean, I can't believe that I have to say this, but there's nothing wrong with being monogamous. If your partner comes to you and says that they want to date other people, they want to see other people, they want to have sex with other people, and you're not okay with that, it's okay to say that. And I was in a situation where I was at this bar. I talked about this in one of my videos recently, but I was at a bar during one of my polyamorous social meetups, and there was this guy there with his wife, and they saw me, and I'm friendly and a social butterfly, and so I went and talked to them, and he was trying to, he was basically bringing her there to try to convince her that polyamory was the open-minded way to live. Polyamory was like the woke way to be. And he was having a lot of these conversations with her because basically they asked me about my experience. And so I talked about my experience and how I do things and my partners and blah, 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 blah. Helped that they were buying me drinks. And I just shared, and he looked at my experiences and the way that I talked about things and said, see, look, this is what you should be doing, da 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 da. And I'm not gonna say that those sorts of conversations can't be productive, but it was really clear that she was not interested in polyamory. She was really in this position where she didn't want that. She did not want that. She knew she didn't want that. And he was trying to convince her. And so of course, me, I was like, no, if she wants to be monogamous, she should be monogamous. There's nothing wrong with that. And of course, the guy was trying to have the conversation with me so that I could convince her, but I'm not gonna, be complicit in your gaslighting of your partner so that you get to fuck other women. It's not really personally what I like to do with my Saturday evening. I mean, I appreciate the free drinks or whatever, but no. And I've seen this so frequently, and it breaks my heart. I've seen so often these men will do this thing where they will just continuously argue that women who don't want polyamory are closed-minded, are not woke, or have not grown in some way. And I just hate it. I hate to see it because, again, I can't think of a time where I have gone out of my comfort zone for a man and it served me in any way. And as a solo poly person who has dated a lot of guys like this, because here's what, part of the problem is that when these men present polyamory to their partner, they say yes. They say yes when they really mean no. Because, I mean, if you're in love with somebody and like I said, you've got kids, you've got all these connections, like breaking up is not easy. And so it might be easier to say, I'm gonna stomach the fact that he's going out with other people than to say, I'm going to completely break up with him and start over again, especially if you're an older woman, right? Like you're not gonna necessarily want to break off that relationship until maybe you find somebody else to be with, which is something that happens all the time. You see these partnerships open up and then they're poly for a bit and then one of them meets somebody and next thing you know, they're monogamous again. You know, and unfortunately, I hate to say this, and I know that this is gonna probably piss some people off, but I've known a lot of men like that where they're really just trying to get out of their relationship, but they want to be polyamorous because that's the woke way to do it. You know, I've seen this happen so many times. Guy, God. See, this is the story that breaks my heart. I see this all the time, right? Older couple in their 40s and 50s. Man comes to woman and says, I want to see other people. I want to date. I want to be polyamorous, da-da-da-da. He goes out. He struggles because he's a man and poly is often much easier for women. But he finds a young, more agreeable woman. Right? And he's polyamorous in this sort of situation because he's married to this woman who he usually says isn't having sex with him. I don't know if that's true oftentimes, but that's what he usually says. And so he finds this young woman, and this young woman is almost always, how to say this in a nice way, this young woman is often in crisis. And next thing you know, she needs a place to stay, right? So you've got this wife who didn't really want this polyamorous stuff to begin with, right? But now he's met this young girl and oh my gosh, she really needs a place to stay. Oh shit. And so he moves her in. And then the next couple of months are literally just a slow and painful death to where he essentially replaces her with a younger woman. And they break up, they get a divorce, and bam, he's monogamous again with this younger woman. And I think this pisses me off because, you know, listen, I mean, I will never say that women lose their value with age. But I'm also not gonna ignore that we live in a society that says that, right? That when you're 40 plus and you're single, that there must be something wrong with you if you're a woman. If you're a man, that's you know, you're just a bachelor who's been working on his job or whatever. But if you're a woman, oh my God, there's something wrong with you, right? And I've seen this happen so many times, so many times. There have been times where I have almost been that young woman, right? And it's, again, easier said than done. But what makes me so sad is that they got to that position in the first place. It breaks my heart to watch that because time is finite. And I would hate to be in a situation where I've essentially wasted years with somebody who was just trying to figure out a woke way to replace me. What pains me in watching men do this to women is how frequently women will struggle when they get older. And I know that so many of us are so afraid of giving our youth to a man who doesn't appreciate it, you know? And it's hard listening to people. There was this guy that I was talking to for a bit. Him and his wife, you know, were trying to spread their wings a bit. And half of his messages to me were him complaining to me about his wife. He was living with this person, He was, you know, sleeping next to this person every night, but sending me text messages about how she doesn't work, how she's not smart, she, you know, doesn't really know how to process certain things. He would really want to be with me, so we'd be on a similar intellectual level and da-da-da-da-da. And oh my fucking God, do I not want to be in a relationship with somebody who is texting other women that sort of stuff about their wife? And unfortunately, with a lot of these men that I've tried to date who are in this position, they do this. So much of their polyamory is them just trying to get away from their wife, you know? And I'm not saying that it's always like this. I'm really not saying that. Sometimes couples open and it is a beautiful thing and they discover polyamory and it works out, blah, 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 blah. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes it does happen. But what I hate watching is a woman sit there and stomach something that she does not want. And I hate watching it just break her up inside. I mean, listen, there have been times where I've gone to events and I see that partner, and that partner is there with their poly partner and trying their best to enjoy socializing, but they don't fucking want to be there because they don't really like this poly shit. And I've seen people do that for years. You know, they're coming to the poly get together. She's not into it. He really is. He's getting numbers. She's hating every moment of it. There are plenty of people out there who will not put you in that situation. I think that it's so often we cling to partners because we believe that there's no one else. We believe that it's going to be hard for us to find a new person who would ever put up with us and things like that. But there are a lot of men out there who want monogamous relationships. It might not seem like that, but there are a lot of men who want monogamous relationships. And you're not closed-minded for wanting that. It breaks my heart to listen to people cut women down for voicing their boundaries. A woman not wanting for her partner to be sleeping with another person is an incredibly normal, rational, reasonable, logical boundary. It truly is. It truly, truly, truly is. For me, I've unfortunately been in a lot of situations where I have to deal with the blowout of the jealous wife or the jealous girlfriend who isn't happy that her partner is sleeping with me. And that's not really fair to me. You know, it's not fair to me. It's not fair to her. Which brings me to my next thing. I don't want anything I'm saying in this video to sound like I'm trying to blame the women for agreeing, because in truth, it's the men who are doing this. Like, I've seen so many men just bulldoze through this shit. Like, it's not a big deal at all. You know, these men will just bulldoze through relationships. You know, they know their partner's on the fence, but they'll go and, you know, the moment they get a half yes, they'll go and sign up on a website, start talking to a girl, take a girl on a couple of dates. And then the next thing you know, bada bing, bada boom, they're broken up because, or they get broken up because the wife is uncomfortable. Listen, I've dated so many men where this has happened. I was in a relationship with somebody and we were going really, really, really well. You know, we were seeing each other frequently. We were getting really close. You know, he was just a great guy that was treating me really, really great. We had to cut it off because his partner was uncomfortable with it. And because at the end of the day, he doesn't want to throw that away for a new relationship, right? A lot of time, I know we're talking to women. Hopefully I'm not sounding too critical here, but the men in this scenario need to be aware enough to know that, like, unless it's an enthusiastic yes, an eager yes, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't start pursuing these relationships that are ultimately going to end the moment your partner is uncomfortable with it. You know, the only real, this is going to be unpopular, but I'm going to say it. The only real time where I've seen this sort of thing work, where a partnership starts monogamous and then turns polyamorous, is when either they're both dating the same person or they're both actively dating. Because so frequently when this happens, the guy goes and dates a bunch of people and the girl just sits at home. Sometimes it's the other way around. I know couples like that too, but so frequently what ends up happening is the guy is going out there dating a bunch of women, and the woman is at home hoping that he'll come to the realization that none of this is what he really wants, and what he really wants is her. And you know, sometimes men do that where they really do need to just get it out of their system or whatever, but a lot of times that's not how it goes. And it breaks my heart to see. It breaks my heart to see. So like I said, this is something that I'm thinking about a lot this year because, you know, I have been so open-minded through my life. I have been so easy to connect with. And has it really served me? Not particularly. And I just want for women, especially this year, to just stop settling for what you know you don't want because you think it might save your relationship. You know, there's really nothing wrong with saying, I don't want this and I'm gonna stick to my guns, you know? And the truth is, if your partner doesn't respect you for doing that, he doesn't respect you. Your partner does not respect you if you say, hey, I actually am very uncomfortable with that, especially when it's about him having sex with other people, because even though he's having that relationship with another person, if he's going out and coming back and having sex with you, that is your body too. That is your, you know, you're involved in that. You might not be in that relationship, but it's very possible that their sexual health situation might impact your sexual health situation. So, you know, if you're uncomfortable with it, I would like to encourage more people to be, more women to be more hard in saying no. Because one thing I'm trying to do this year is I'm not gonna be afraid of being like, and seeming like a bitch. You know, I have concerned myself far too much with not wanting to seem like a bitch. And being a bitch in, you know, in a lot of men's eyes is literally having a backbone, not letting them trample all over you, not falling for their bullshit. The right man will respect the reasonable boundaries that you set for yourself. He's not going to say, I recognize you have this boundary, but maybe you should shift it a bit from me because I'm special. He's gonna say, you know what? I get where you're at and I'm gonna work with you at your pace. He's not gonna pressure you. He's not gonna shame you. He's gonna work with you. And if he's not willing to work with you, why are you in a relationship with him? Why are you in a partnership with him? Just food for thought. Anyway, that is what I had to say about this. I'm very curious to know if anyone's been in this situation before. I've observed it happening so many times, and just, girl, I honestly, it breaks my heart. It truly, truly breaks my heart. And I really do hate to see it. I really, truly do hate to see it. So yeah, let me know how you guys feel in the comment box below. I always like reading your true tea because it keeps me refreshed every week. So thank you so much to those of you guys who leave those comments every single week. You guys are amazing. Yeah, I would really love to hear if from people who have been in this situation before or have observed similar patterns as I have, because in 2021, we aren't falling for the gaslighting bullshit anymore. We're not agreeing to go with the flow and be open-minded in ways that do not serve us. We're just not doing that. We're drawing the line in the sand. So yeah. Anyway, on that note, if you've watched this entire video, please put this in the comment section below. The emoji is what all the cool kids are doing. And you know, I've watched you for the past couple of weeks and I suspect that you're cool. I think that you might be cool, but I'm not really sure. And honestly, I would love to hang out with you, but I really only hang out with people who do the emoji. So If you want to get like me, I'm just saying you should put the emoji in the comment section below. It's just like what everybody's doing, so. Yeah. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys next week. Right now, you're looking at 2 videos you can watch if you'd like to continue to watch True Tea on this channel. And in the corner, there are several ways you can send me a tip if that is something that you want to do. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys next week. Bye.